So there's a meme on the internet that says that Jesus only gave up a weekend.
Yes, and that just shows how silly that really is. It shows no understanding whatsoever of either the depth of human depravity or what it cost Christ to pay the penalty for our sins.
That's very, very true. Now, the question here, if we wanted to put it a little bit more formally, is how did Jesus reconcile us to the Father in only 3 days, right? Because the wages of sin is death. And so how was it only 3 days that he was able to accomplish this instead of an infinite amount of time, which is what most Bible-believing Christians, traditionalists that believe in eternal conscious torment, they believe that you're going to be, or sinners are going to be in hell for an infinite amount of time, or a potential infinite amount of time. And so
that's crucial, by the way, that distinction.
Okay, so how do we understand this? If he was only dead for 3 days, how does that work mathematically?
The suffering that the damned in hell will experience was compressed into that brief period of time, so that its intensity made up for the shortness of its duration. A person who has a hangnail and suffers for eternity from that will experience infinite suffering. But at any point in time, his suffering will not be very intense. But if you compress all of that infinite suffering into a short period of time, it would be unbearable. And that's what Christ suffered. Moreover, think of this, because the sufferings of the damned are potentially infinite in duration, at no point in time will they have ever suffered more than a finite amount of suffering. It will simply go on forever, but at any point, it will always be finite. But Christ took the whole infinite suffering of every person and bore it in that short period of time. And this is why Christ experienced this forsakenness from God the Father.
Would your answer differ if suppose that Christian doctrine taught that the damned would be sent to hell for 1,000 days and then they would just be snuffed out?
Annihilated.
Yeah, if they were just annihilated. Would your answer to this be different at all? How can you compress
it
1,000 days?
It wouldn't be a different answer. You would still say that Christ suffered in intensity what they would suffer during whatever period of time they did exist.
Okay. Now,
it just wouldn't be as great as suffering because it would come to an end.